This video was a very difficult one to make given the sensitive nature of the topic. I've tried to make this video as respectful and beautiful as possible in order to keep Paul's legacy intact, and I hope I succeed in what I'm trying to do. The tragic death of Paul Walker is probably one of the most shocking moments in the history of film. Nobody ever expected that this young star who would unfortunately pass away in a car crash back in 2013 would actually make headlines and that would change the entire course or direction of a franchise. No denying that, I'm not going to go into the details of the death, but this video is a tribute to his life and the movies that he starred in. I'm going to recap some of the most popular movies that he has been in and how I actually like them and how he has influenced me to actually take up cars as a hobby and the very reason why I even created this channel at the first place. Stick around for a little while as I'm going to take you to some of his most popular movies, and this is the first video in a series of trilogy videos about Paul Walker. So please subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more. As we get started soon. This video is made as some sort of a tribute to Paul Walker, who was born, a couple of weeks back on September 12th, 1973, and he unfortunately passed away on the 30th of November 2013. In order to make this video, I've done a lot of research and I've also tried to make sure that I keep the video as respectful and as memorable as possible, so that anybody in any part of the world who has been a fan of Paul Walker will love this video for what it is. Definitely we are going to speak about only the good aspects about him and the movies that he has starred in and how those movies have influenced me in my real life, to the point that I actually ended up opening this channel, going into the hobby of cars as a full-time job, and also going the fast and furious way of life. Paul Walker is probably one of those celebrities who has been a very popular face, or let's say a very popular figure in the 90s or 2000s early hard rock culture, because if anybody knows Joshua Jackson, James Van Der Beek and Paul Walker and Kerr Smith and Freddie Prinze Jr., people like that have been very, very famous in the 90s for the number of teen movies and teen dramas they've starred in, particularly Dawson's Creek as well, about which I'm going to talk about in a different video. Paul Walker, well, his death was a very, very shocking experience for everyone across the globe. And back when I was 10 years old and when I heard the news first, I had no clue who Paul Walker is. It is only after watching the first Fast and Furious movies, we shy of 3 or 4 years later, I got to know what I actually missed and what had actually happened. I had little to almost no clue about who Paul Walker was, what he had done for the Fast and Furious franchise, or what a Fast and Furious movie even was, for that record. It is only in the year 2016 that when I made a conjugal visit to my uncle's place, I got to see the climatic portion of the first Fast and Furious movie, and that is where my obsession with Fast and Furious movies started to, grow big and big. And eventually, in the next few years, that is till 2003, the next 7 years were a complete joyride for me. I watched all the Fast and Furious movies. I ended up liking the first Fast and Furious movie so much so that I got to know all about the cars, the cast, the locations, even so much so that I ended up buying just a second, the Hot Wheels 5-pack of the Fast and Furious cars, and your casual JDM cars. This is the new one that I'll be reviewing on the channel very soon. Apart from that, I just a second also ended up buying the DVDs to the first 3 Fast and Furious movies and the rest of them as well. You know, Paul Walker has been a very influential figure for me, in the sense that it is he, or let's say it is his work, that made me open this channel at the very first place and made me so influential, or let's say made me so very motivated towards taking cars as a full-time profession and also talking about my experiences on YouTube. This video will particularly be dedicated to the number of movies that I've seen about him and how those movies have been very, very influential to my overall film taste as well. No doubt, I would like to start off with the Fast and the Furious first, because that is the movie that basically began the Paul Walker mania for me. This is the movie that basically opened up my world to JDM cars and import car racing, and how my dormant interest in cars actually was, reinvigorated because of this movie. The idea that this film turned out to be such an influential film for me, that for the last 7 years I've been collecting DVDs, I've been, collecting the Fast and Furious cars. I've also tried to collect Hot Wheels JDM cars, because somehow the magic of that movie has stayed with me for so long. So much so that I even started this YouTube channel with a Fast and Furious video that I'm going to link below and above as well. There's no denial that the first Fast and Furious movie was a definite, game changer for me. Years back, when I actually had no clue of what Fast and Furious is. My interest in cars was, kind of confined, or let's say kind of restricted to only collecting the casual Hot Wheels cars every now and then. But now, with the knowledge of the Fast and the Furious here in my head, I'm definitely going to collect more cars and watch more about the movies and definitely learn more about the cast as well. That's the entire impact this film has had on me. I ended up buying so many things, learning so many things along the way, that it also motivated me to create this channel in the first place. The first Fast and Furious movie is always going to be an influential film for me. Not only because of the cast, the cars, and the action sequences and the stuff that the film had, but also it gave me a way of life that I was very long looking for, and I was actually kind of looking for it for a very long time. No matter however I put it, it's the same thing, right? Yeah. So this is the first Fast and Furious for me. The idea that it was so influential for me will always be memorable for the rest of my life. Joyride is a particularly very unexpected movie. I'll tell you why. I had no clue that a film like this even exists. No clue. I did know of a film called Duel, directed by Steven Spielberg, which had a very similar premise, but this movie turned out to be a completely, different film for me. I just saw it a couple of months back in the month of January, and ever since then I've liked this movie so much so that I've gone on to looking for DVDs online, and also gone on to watching the movie 2-3 more times, and probably I will also do a movie review somewhere down the road, but of course not in the latest foreseeable future, or so I believe. Joyride has also been an influential film in the sense that it actually took me out of Paul Walker's image as this cool young kid who's into cars and doing all kinds of cool stuff in movies, and this is the movie that basically established him as a very serious actor in my eyes. A very, very serious actor. I've never even got the slightest clue that he can do other movies as well, because I had no clue that he has other movies as well. Apart from the Fast and Furious movies, he starred in The Skulls, he starred in Joyride, he starred in 8 Mile Below, he starred in Brick Mansions. There's another movie where he even plays the antagonist, and that movie was an underrated film, and it earned a very high IMDb rating as well. There are other movies where he starred as a child actor. There were other films that he has also done, films like She's All That and Varsity Blues, and movies like Pleasantville. I've seen She's All That and Varsity Blues, the one that starred James Van Der Beek again from the Dawson's Creek fame. Pleasantville is a movie that I've never seen yet. I've never even tried to check it out because of the fact that I, have a very tight schedule, and unfortunately, given the duration of that movie, it becomes very difficult for me to watch a 2-hour movie in a weekday. Of course, on a weekend, I can give it a try. I'll probably even make a video review of that sometime soon in the future. But that's it. This movie has also been very, very, mind-changing for me, because it established Paul Walker as an actor for me, apart from the Fast and Furious and the Skulls image that I had of him. Now, this film particularly, I'll tell you this thing, The Skulls as a movie was a very, very underrated movie back when it came out, and even today. I had no clue that the film even exists. It's only after watching the, filmography of Paul Walker that I got to know that a film like this does exist. Ivy League colleges, secret societies, Joshua Jackson from the Dawson's Creek fame, Leslie Bibb. Apart from that, you have other actors as well. You have even got Craig Nelson, who voices Mr. Incredible in the Disney movie The Incredibles. The entire idea that this film turned out to be such an undernoticed, or let's say an unnoticed movie for all these years, that I actually ended up watching it on an online server, and ever since then, me and my sister have been die-hard fans of this movie. Every holiday season that we try to meet, we go and check this film out, and next month or even in the month of December, we plan to go and check this movie out again. Sure, we will. The sheer influence that this movie has had in terms of the teenage relatability, the idea that it has some elements of mystery and suspense being played on a B movie level, but that still makes sense, because let's face it, of course, the movie has aged a bit in terms of the premise and the social climate it was set in, but the core ideas are still very, very relatable. Very, very relatable. So this is the, second movie for me, The Skulls, that has been a very, very influential movie for me, apart from The Fast and the Furious, and how Paul Walker's image of being, this handsome, cool guy has come from that film itself. Paul Walker's death is still a very emotional one for me. Very, very emotional. That's the exact same reason I'm not trying to be, very enthusiastic or very, very, keen about the film here. Just a second, guys. So sorry, I'm back here again. That's the exact same reason why I haven't been very enthusiastic or very pumped up in this video, because we're talking about a celebrity who no longer exists with us, and the idea that his influences actually created millions of car fans across the globe, myself being one of them. That's the reason why I even started the video at the first place. Paul Walker's death was a surprise. Anybody who's ever, liked that guy, or has watched his movies, or hasn't even watched his movies, you will still feel like you lost somebody of your own. The idea that Furious 7 was just in filming phase when Paul Walker passed away, and how his brothers apparently, got behind the scenes and completed the scenes for him in order to give him some sort of a fitting tribute. Anybody who watches Furious 7, I'd like to recommend you one thing: do not watch that movie for the fact that which part of Paul Walker is CGI and which is not. Go and watch it just for the experience. Sure, some part of the CGI might come off as a little, obvious, this is not Paul Walker, but try and understand the legacy he's created. Try and understand the humanitarian work that he has done beyond his movies. Try and understand the image that he had, in the eyes of the public. That's the exact same reason why any YouTube short or any YouTube status video about Paul Walker trends so much. It ends up getting so many views and so much traction that it actually, is funny that even 10 years later the man has such a profound impact on people. That's the exact same reason why I'm even making the video at the first place. Well, this is about Paul Walker's death. I'm not going into details because of course it's personal, it's very confidential. Not confidential per se, but it's just that I shouldn't talk much about it because we're in a happy mood, and let's keep it that way. There is no denying of the fact that there will never be another Paul Walker in the history of movies, because I've never seen an actor who has been so close to the car world and so close to being, the first ever car guy that I ever met. Believe me, he's the first ever car guy I ever met. Sure, I may have seen movies like Disney Cars, I may have seen movies like Christine before, but those movies weren't exactly about car guys. This movie was particularly about car guys. The Fast and the Furious in some way turned out to be, a big hit and an unexpected hit, of course. And this movie ended up, spawning decades of, movies that earned billions of dollars at the box office, and it also had a profound impact on the car culture as well. Car culture particularly took place, or it particularly became such a big thing because of this movie, and your additional video games as well, that I'll talk about in some other videos maybe. Paul Walker's impact on the car scene is undeniable, and even after all these years, the idea that his brothers are actually organizing Fuel Fest, and his younger brother Caleb Walker has also been very influential in the car scene, is actually very emotional to see that his brother is continuing his legacy. And if anybody has seen Fast X, you would know that Paul Walker's daughter makes a cameo in that movie, and it's a very subtle nod. Anybody who doesn't understand, or anybody who doesn't know who Paul Walker's daughter is, you wouldn't get the reference. Until and unless you see that movie, only then you know the reference. Well, this is it for the video today. I'm not going to elaborate much because of course it's a very sensitive video and a sensitive topic. I'm going to make a different Paul Walker tribute video and a Paul Walker movies ranked video. That will be one of the most amazing videos of this channel, and also it will be a tribute to the fallen star who unfortunately is no longer among us. Thank you so much for watching my video. Anybody who has watched it up until this now, it's very nice that Paul Walker fans all across the world are able to connect here, or will be able to connect here after the video airs. Stay safe guys, take care. Please keep buying films on physical media. Like I always tell you, that's the best way to protect movies for long. Stay safe, bye bye. Keep doing whatever you have to do in life. Just collect cars, buy movies, stay happy. Above all, just stay happy and content. And with that, vaya con Dios.